What's up, Sooner fans? This is the legend Mike Wilkerson, host of Sooner Legends podcast. I'm going to be doing a video today on our first legendary coach, Benjamin Gilbert Owen, aka Bennie Owen. But first, jump out, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on your post notifications bell. That way you don't miss any history or college football content that I will be uploading soon. And I want to thank you for all of my supporters out there. God bless y'all. Y'all rock. Okay, let's jump into it. Bennie Owen. He was our first legendary coach at OU. He came to us from a tiny, tiny college called Bethany College in Lindsborg, Kansas, where he was head coach of a team called the Terrible Swedes. And what they were known for was their clean style of football play. They never got personal fouls, any flagrant calls, unnecessary roughnesses, stuff like that. So we had, prior to Bennie Owen, we had gone through a slew of coaches that I'm not going to say were bad, but weren't good. And when Bennie Owen come to us, he took Fred Buck Ewing's place as head coach. So you'll see me looking over. I'm looking at my notes. I apologize. I'm trying to get my dates right. Benny come to us in 1905, and he quit coaching in 1926. His overall record was 122, 54, and 16. What's interesting about Benny is not only was he our football coach, he was our basketball coach from 1908 to 1921, where his record was 113-49, and he was our baseball coach. Go figure. Uh, he coached baseball from 1906 to 1922. His win loss record was 142, 102, and 4. So he comes to us in 1905, and Benny put us on the map as far as a winning program here at OU. Uh, I'll go back to my notes just to tell you. Uh, his first season, we went 7-2. Uh, he so he pretty much had a winning record from what I have wrote down up to 1919, which was 5-2-3, and then he started he started to go down, really down in 1922, where he went 2-3-3. 23 he went 3-5. 24 he went 2-5-1. No, 24. I'm sorry, he went 2-5-1, and then 25 he went 4-3-1. But in all of that, listen to this, folks. While he was coach in Oklahoma in 1907, which is when we became a state, he went on a quail hunting trip towards it was before the season started. Him and a buddy went out quail hunting, and on the way back, they was in a wagon. Uh, one of the dogs had shifted, and the shotgun come up and discharged into Bennie Owen's armpit. So they get him into Norman. One doctor was out quail hunting, and he was closed, so they went to another doctor. They amputated his arm. 3 days later, the man's out coaching football. Seriously. So, uh, in my notes, uh, let's see, let's get some high. I'm just, like I said, I'm just going over the highlights of Benny, uh, because of coaches' salaries back in those days, Benny didn't live in Norman. He would only come to Norman to coach during the season, and then in the summertime he'd go back to Ark City, Kansas, to help his mom and dad run their pharmacy business. So the big the big fish I'm going to tell you here is in one of Bennie Owen's contributions to Oklahoma, and they did a compilation in at the end of the 2009 season at OU. So this is taken from the end of the 2009 season. At the end of the 2009 season, they compiled a record in 1,154 games. OU scored 30,897 points, with over 5,000 of those points being contributed by Bennie Owen's teams. And it says here that I wrote down Owens Owens his teams while he was there scored 150 points in a game and won 3 games in 1915 by a combined score of 258-0. In 1911, Owens' team they played a defunct college now in Kingfisher, Oklahoma, called Kingfisher College, where they won the game by 104-0. And from what I've read on that game, is the field goal kicker's left leg was wore out by the end of the game. So Bennie Owen is very legendary and deserves his right with Bud, Barry, and Bob just for his contributions to football, other than having a stadium, not a stadium, but the football field named after him. And another one of his uh, stories I like to hear and that I've heard is during the Bennie Owen era, because he had this team rolling. The only means of communication back in those days were telegraph. So the local fans, when they had an away game, OU, when they had an away game, the townspeople would gather at the telegrapher's office, and the telegrapher had a piece of plywood with the yards marked, hash marks, and had a little sticker men that he would put on that board, and it would show OU's progress because he was getting information from the telegrapher at the other end on what OU was doing at that particular time. First down OU, punt OU, touchdown OU, etc. So it's been said that Bennie Owen is the one who started the fanfare as far as OU football when they returned from their away games. Uh, when Because back in those days, the only commercial travel was by train. So what OU had to do when they uh, would schedule an away game, they would usually do 3 games, sometimes 4, because of train travel. And then when they would return, the crowd would just erupt in Norman. But also a little history on the naming of the stadium. You got to figure what time frame this was when they built the stadium. You're coming into Prohibition and also the Depression. So Bennie Owen spearheaded our stadium with his father-in-law, who happened to be a banker there in Norman, and they built the stadium. And just as the stadium gets built, the depression hits. And so a lot of historians from OU feel that had not Benny at that time built a football stadium, that we wouldn't have had a stadium probably until around the World War II era. That's just what's be to believe by the historians that I've read about. And another funny thing about Benny is after he lost his arm, uh, he was fired, unbeknownst to him. But the athletic director, president, and the Oklahoma legislature stepped in and reinstated him, and they didn't tell Benny until after he was reinstated. Now, the what I heard why this happened was I don't know what college, I don't know what school, but a one-armed piano teacher was teaching piano, and somebody said, "Well, you got a one-armed teacher teaching piano, and you got a one-armed football coach coaching at Oklahoma." Now, as I end this, I'm going to give you some names of the inaugural class of the College Football Hall of Fame that was inducted when they were inducted. Bennie Owen being one of them. The other, uh, the other names, I'm not going to tell all of them. I'm just going to. There was Newt Rockney, the Galloping Ghost, Red Gray, Walter Camp, and Jim Thorpe. Now, if you don't sit there and tell me that Benny wasn't an important part of OU football, to get into the College Football Hall of Fame with those guys, you got to be good in that inaugural class. So there's your little history of Bennie Owen. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. God bless and enjoy the rest of your week. Y'all take care. Bye bye.